Sustainability is a very hot topic on the market today. And my assumption is that you might have seen this picture before. The picture represents the three scopes. And if you are a company who falls under the EU regulations and need to report carbon emissions, you will need to be familiar with this picture. So, what are those scopes? Scope 1 is for all indirect emissions that occur from the sources controlled or owned by the company, vehicles, buildings, and etc. Scope 2 is indirect emissions that occur in facilities where the energy is produced. And then scope 3 is for all other indirect emissions that do not fall under scope 2. However, they are part of the company's value chain. Now, imagine imagine you are an accountant. And of course, if you are an accountant, you do not need to imagine, but just picture yourself in the situation you receive a bill from your electricity provider. So, what do you do with it? Where do you allocate the emissions of this particular invoice? Is that scope 1? Is that scope 2? Or maybe it's scope 3? For the ones who are thinking, oh, what an easy example, it should go under scope 2, I would say yes, correct, but with some limitations. Correct that the majority of emissions should be allocated to scope 2. However, there is also a small partage of emissions that should be allocated to scope 3. And this just proves the complexity. This just proves that there are no simple exercises. And in order to provide the correct reports, you will be required to have environmental accountant knowledge. However, you do not have to have this with newly designed, newly built solution by Continia called Continia Sustainability. With Continia Sustainability, we aim to eliminate the hassle from your table by enabling you get their carbon emissions report with couple of minutes frame time and with very basic 3 steps. You get the invoice, you add some environmental data, you import this data to environmental journals, and then you post all those journals. So now let's see how. You can see Business Central, and just like I mentioned in the example before, you are an accountant and you have just received an invoice from your provider Eon. Just like you would do in a very typical situation, you open an invoice, you add the financial data to it, such as GL account, GL number. It is linked to electricity for properties. And then what happens? As soon as you add the GL account that is linked to environmental account, the new column appears. In this case, we see that the invoice is linked to the facilities. Now, as an accountant, I need to tell, so what kind of facility was that? Was that electricity for my London office? Was that electricity for my Manchester office? Or was that electricity maybe for my Malta office? So let's say in this case, it was electricity for my London office. I select London office electricity and new columns appear and they are pre-filled. We can see that this is electricity. We can see that what emission factor data set was used. We see that in this case it was electricity for UK. We see that it is energy, and we see that measurement is kilowatts. Now I only add kilowatts, let's say 800. Basically, I am done. I am done with the first step. All I need to do is post the invoice. That's it. We are entering the second step. For the second step, let's go to environmental journals. Here are the journals where all the information related to environmental accounts fall into. We can see, so all we need to do is import the data. Let's import the data. We see that the one invoice that we have just registered is here. We can go inside, and once we open up, we see that yes, it is electricity. It was allocated to scope 2. We can also check that the actual emissions we are calculated, and we see two numbers: location based and market based. Why is that? For electricity, even though you need to report one of them, you need to calculate both of them. You can also check both of those numbers and go deeper into the summary. So here you can see that yes, the majority of emissions were allocated to scope 2, but however, some of this was also allocated to scope 3. On the right, you can see the summary. So what was the actual emissions? Did we have any green gas house emissions? Did we have fossil sources? Did we have nuclear forces, and etc.? All this information is right there at our disposal, at our use. With this, let's see, I have checked the number, all looks good. I only need to post the journals. I post the journals and I am done with the second step. Now, for the last step, I only need to check the report itself. I go to sustainability report. The default report is there already. I can click on it and I see that the report based on the requirements of ESG protocol is there already based on the scope 1, scope 2. Scope 2 is calculated in two different ways. Market-based electricity and location-based electricity. I can have scope 3 and etc. Of course, you can play with the report. Of course, you can modify it. Of course, you can compare this with the previous period so that you know if your company is going to the right direction or to the wrong direction. But the one thing that I would like to leave you with, you can have this report ready within a couple of minutes, and you will not be required to have any environmental knowledge to do so. You will only need to enter very basic environmental fields, and then you are done. You post it and you have it. Of course, you have just seen the process in a couple of minutes. It doesn't mean that all of this ends with those couple of minutes. There is a lot of science, a lot of formulas in behind. However, if you are ready for the journey, we would invite you to come on board. This is the solution that was built for you to make your life easier, to make your life more effective, and to help you build the report, the carbon emission report, in no time and in a most easy way for you. We also made the report in a transparent way, so you would be able to go deep into the formulas as well as check the actual emission factor sets that are there, and evaluate which version would you like to use. And lastly, the Continia Sustainability is integrated in Business Central. What does it mean for you as a company? It means that it will be the same look and feel. If your people know how to work with Business Central, they will definitely know how to work with Continia Sustainability. The beauty of Continia Sustainability is also in the fact that if you are using document capture and expense management, other solutions developed by Continia, you would experience even greater benefits, as this way you can cover the capturing part automatically as well as building report part automatically. So it's a very good match and even more time saving for you. If if you too would like to have this carbon emission report ready in a couple of minutes, if you would like to experience the full power of the solution and relax and do not worry if you have made the report correctly, I would encourage you to contact our partner OnPoint. They know your business, they know your processes, so they will be the best partner to adapt the solution to your preferences and so that you can have the most out of it. And by all means, I would encourage you to download the solution from Microsoft App Stores and test it for free. I really encourage and hope that we will see you joining happy crowd of Continia customers soon. Thank you.